Millionaire CEO arrives home unannounced and is shocked to see her black housekeeper playing with her son. Beverly Hills, California. 4:30 p.m. Sophia Bennett, 33, CEO of Bennett Tech Empire, the fifth largest software company in the United States, slides silently into her black Tesla Model S through the circular driveway of her $20 million mansion. She had closed the deal with Microsoft 3 hours ahead of schedule and decided to return home without warning. But what she is about to discover will forever change her understanding of what it means to be a mother, what it means to love, and who was really taking care of her son while she was building an empire. 3 years ago, Sophia had it all: a perfect marriage to Michael, a rapidly growing company, and a baby boy named Ethan who represented the perfection of her planned life. Then came the accident. A drunk driver ran a red light on Pacific Coast Highway and destroyed not only Michael's Porsche, but the perfect world she had built. Michael died instantly. Ethan, then only 6 months old, survived physically unharmed, but something inside Sophia died in that hospital when the doctors confirmed that she would never have the man she loved by her side again. The funeral was the last time Sophia cried in public. From that moment on, she turned her pain into fuel and her work into a drug. Bennett Tech exploded from 50 to 2,000 employees in 2 years. Contracts went from thousands to billions. Sophia went from promising businesswoman to one of the most powerful women in American technology. But the price was devastating. Ethan, now 3.5, had practically forgotten what it meant to have a mother around. Since Michael's death, the boy's life had become a succession of professional nannies, qualified governesses, and specialized caregivers who took turns in the mansion like hospital shifts. Sophia, devastated by emotional emptiness and unable to face the reality of raising a child who constantly reminded her of the husband she had lost, took refuge in endless meetings. 14 hours a day at the office. Constant trips between Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Seattle. Business acquisitions, market strategies, negotiations that demanded her absolute presence. She convinced herself that she was building Ethan's future, that every million she earned would guarantee the best life possible for him. But the truth was brutal. She didn't know how to be a mother without Michael. She didn't know how to look into those blue eyes, identical to his father's, without feeling her heart break. Ethan was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed child, just like Michael, but in recent months he had become increasingly quiet, introspective, distant. Nannies came and went because Sophia fired them for insignificant imperfections. She demanded professional perfection, but was incapable of offering genuine love. She left the house at 5:30 in the morning before Ethan woke up and returned at 11 at night when he had been asleep for hours. Weekends were virtual conferences and financial reports. Holidays were opportunities for uninterrupted work. The last nanny, Mrs. Patterson, a 58-year-old British woman with 3 decades of experience caring for the children of California's elite, had resigned 2 weeks earlier with a sentence that pierced Sophia more than any business criticism: "Your son needs a mother, not another employee carrying out instructions." That's when Elite Domestic Services offer her a different solution: a multifunctional handyman who could take care of property maintenance and simultaneously serve as a caregiver during her extended absences. Marcus Washington was 29 years old and had a resume that piqued Sophia's curiosity. With a degree in early childhood education from UCLA, he had worked as a counselor in community centers in South LA, but also had experience in building maintenance and gardening on high-end properties. The agency described him as a man of many talents, capable of transforming any environment into a welcoming space and winning the trust of any child. During the interview, Sophia was impressed by his naturalness. He was tall with broad shoulders, hands that showed honest work, and brown eyes that smiled even when his expression was serious. He dressed simply but with respectful dignity. When he talked about his philosophy on childcare, he used words Sophia hadn't heard in a long time. Children need to feel loved for who they are, not for what they should become. She hired him that same night, more out of desperation than conviction. Ethan needed someone responsible. The mansion required constant maintenance. And she needed to leave for Seattle to close an $800 million deal with Amazon Web Services. What Sophia didn't know was that she was about to discover the true meaning of loving a child. Now gliding silently through the mansion's entrance 3 hours earlier than expected, with a Microsoft contract signed and a strange feeling of unease she couldn't name, Sophia was about to witness something that would challenge everything she believed about success, priorities, and happiness. From the side garden came the unmistakable sound of children's laughter, a pure joy she hadn't heard from Ethan in over a year. She parked the Tesla silently and walked curiously toward the sounds. What she saw completely paralyzed her. In the back garden of the mansion, where order was usually maintained by a team of professional landscapers, there was a light blue inflatable pool. Marcus, wearing jeans and a wet t-shirt, was kneeling on the grass holding a garden hose. Ethan, in swim trunks with a pink unicorn float, laughed uncontrollably as Marcus gently sprayed him with water. It wasn't the scene that shocked her, it was the expression of pure joy exploding on her son's face, which she hadn't seen since before Michael's death. Ethan splashed with his little hands, spraying water on Marcus, who pretended to be attacked by the unicorn float, laughing with that spontaneous laugh that only completely happy children can produce. Marcus wasn't just supervising, he was participating, reacting to the games as if they were the most important event in the universe. When Ethan showed how the unicorn could swim, Marcus applauded with genuine enthusiasm that made the boy beam with pride. Sophia remained hidden behind the bamboo fence for 20 minutes, watching her son interact with a naturalness and confidence he had never shown with his certified nannies. The moment that impacted her the most was when Ethan, tired from playing, approached Marcus and naturally rested his little head on his wet shoulder. That gesture of total trust that children reserve exclusively for people who make them feel completely safe. At that moment, Sophia brutally realized how much time she had wasted, how much love she had denied Ethan, how much of her own humanity she had sacrificed on the altar of business success. In just 3 weeks, Marcus had managed to bring joy back into Ethan's life simply by treating him like what he was, a child who needed to play, laugh, and feel unconditionally loved. Sophia quietly backed away and entered the front door, but her mind was racing with devastating questions. Who was Marcus Washington really? How had he won Ethan's heart so completely? And what did she need to change to become the mother her son deserved? That night, after putting Ethan to bed with surprising ease, the boy fell asleep peacefully after excitedly recounting all the adventures he had had with Uncle Marcus. Sophia found herself alone with Marcus in the ultramodern Italian granite kitchen. For the first time in months, she had seen Ethan sleep with a smile on his face. Marcus arranged the dishes with natural movements, as if that $150,000 kitchen had always been his home. Sophia watched him, trying to figure out who this man was who, in 3 weeks, had made her son happy. When she asked how he had gained Ethan's trust, Marcus explained that at first the boy was withdrawn and suspicious. He spoke little and always seemed to be waiting to be judged or disappointed. Marcus understood that Ethan didn't need perfect rules or structured activities. He needed to feel free to be a child. He started by taking him to the garden, showing him how to plant seeds and explaining why plants needed water and sun to grow. Ethan began by asking shy questions, then increasingly curious ones. Then came water games, clay sculptures, and improvised treasure hunts in the backyard. Marcus didn't follow any educational programs or schedules. He followed Ethan's natural curiosity and emotional rhythm. As she listened, Sophia realized that this man possessed an intuitive wisdom that cannot be learned in universities or corporate seminars. Marcus told her that he had helped raise his 2 younger brothers, Damon and Kyle, after their parents died when he was 19. He had dropped out of graduate school to work and support them, learning to be a big brother and father figure at the same time. Now Damon was a nurse in Oakland, Kyle a teacher in Sacramento, both married with children. Marcus was the beloved uncle, called upon for every birthday and important milestone, but he had never built a family of his own. He had always prioritized the well-being of others. When Sophia asked why he had never married, Marcus smiled wistfully. When you grow up too fast, when you have to take responsibility for a family at 19, sometimes you forget to live for yourself. He had had relationships, but no woman had accepted that his younger siblings were his priority. That's why he had accepted the job with Sophia. It wasn't just a financial issue, it was an opportunity to take care of a child again, to feel useful, to offer love to someone who desperately needed it. Marcus confessed that Ethan talked a lot about her, always with admiration mixed with heartbreaking sadness. The boy knew that his mother worked hard, was important and powerful, but what he really wanted was for her to play with him, laugh at his jokes, listen to him when he told her about his day. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. For the first time in 3 years, she reflected honestly on what she had become. She had built an empire, achieved international success, accumulated hundreds of millions, but she had completely lost touch with her son. A man who had nothing but a huge heart was teaching her what it meant to be truly rich. The following days changed something fundamental in Sophia's essence. For the first time in 3 years, She began delegating critical responsibilities, declining non-essential meetings, returning to the mansion before 7 p.m. She wanted to observe the relationship between Marcus and Ethan, but mainly to learn how to win back her own son's heart. Marcus did not lecture her or judge her for her past absences. With discretion and natural kindness, he began to include her in everyday activities with Ethan. He invited her to play games in the garden, explained the little rituals they had established, and showed her how to turn ordinary moments into extraordinary adventures. One afternoon, while Marcus was teaching Ethan how to plant sunflower seeds, Sophia joined them, getting her hands dirty with soil for the first time in over a decade. Ethan was ecstatic to see his mother kneeling on the grass beside him, dirty and smiling as he hadn't seen her in years. During a storm in late October, something decisive happened. Ethan, who was usually terrified of thunder, ran to Marcus and Sophia, who were watching the rain from the covered porch. Marcus picked him up and told him that storms were giants in the sky taking a bath, and that lightning was flashes from their heavenly cameras. Sophia watched Marcus transform Ethan's fear into curiosity and wonder. She realized that he wasn't just entertaining a child, he was teaching her to see the world through different eyes, to not fear the unknown, to find beauty even in scary things. That night, Sophia asked Marcus to stay longer to talk. For the first time, she started talking about Michael, how they met at Stanford Business School, how they built their dream of a perfect family together, how Michael's death had left her completely lost and terrified of raising Ethan alone. Marcus listened without judgment, without offering unsolicited advice. When Sophia started to cry, he simply offered her a tissue and remained silent by her side. He didn't try to comfort her with clichés. His presence was worth 1,000 words. Sophia realized that this was the first time in 3 years that someone had seen her not as the successful CEO, but as a scared, insecure mother who needed help rebuilding her relationship with her son. Marcus said something that stuck with her: children don't need perfect parents. They need real parents who make mistakes but keep trying, who don't know everything but are willing to learn alongside them. The next day, Sophia shocked the Bennett Tech Board of Directors. She announced that she would be reducing her workload by 50% and delegating many operational responsibilities to her executive team. Her top priority would now be spending time with Ethan. But the real revolution was yet to come. Sophia was discovering that her feelings for Marcus went far beyond professional gratitude. She was falling in love with a man who was teaching her to love again. The Californian autumn painted the Malibu hills with golden colors, and for the first time in 3 years, that mansion really felt like a home, not a museum of business success. Sophia had kept her promise. Now she spent her afternoons with Ethan, playing with him, helping him with his preschool projects, but the real miracle was that Marcus had transformed not only Ethan, but her as well. He had taught her to slow down, find joy in the little things, see the world through the eyes of a child. Together they built sandcastles in the garden, baked cookies and made a mess of the kitchen, and watched Disney movies cuddled up on the couch. Sophia rediscovered aspects of herself that she believed were buried forever under years of meetings and corporate strategies. But as she learned to be a better mother, a feeling grew inside her that both frightened and thrilled her. She watched Marcus playing with Ethan and felt her heart race. She heard his laughter when the boy did something funny and wished she could hear it forever. She gazed at his strong, gentle hands as he taught Ethan how to build a birdhouse and imagined those same hands touching her. Marcus, in turn, began to see Sophia with completely different eyes. No longer the unattainable and distant executive, but the woman who was learning to be vulnerable, who got dirty in the garden laughing like a little girl, who fell asleep on the sofa with Ethan in her arms after reading too many stories. The decisive moment came one night in November when Ethan had a high fever. Sophia panicked, called 3 different pediatricians, and wanted to take him to the hospital for every degree of fever. Marcus, calm and confident, reassured her, showed her how to lower the fever using natural methods, and stayed up all night with her watching over the boy. At 4 a.m., while Ethan finally slept peacefully, Carmen and Marcus found themselves sitting side by side on the living room sofa. Exhausted but relieved, Sophia naturally rested her head on Marcus's shoulder, and he instinctively stroked her hair. They stayed like that for minutes in silence, both feeling that something was irreversibly changing between them. When Sophia looked up and met Marcus's eyes, she realized that he felt the same way she did. They kissed gently, with the tenderness of 2 people who had waited a long time to find each other. It wasn't overwhelming passion, but something deeper: recognition, completeness, the feeling of finally being home. In the days that followed, their relationship evolved naturally. They were no longer Mrs. Bennet and the caretaker, but Sophia, Marcus, and Ethan, a family forming without force, growing daily in love and mutual understanding. Ethan was the first to notice the change and, with childlike innocence, began calling Marcus almost Daddy. Sophia and Marcus looked at each other in surprise the first time, then smiled, understanding that the boy had simply named what the three of them felt. They had become a family. But true love always faces crucial tests. One December morning, Sophia received a call that changed everything. Bennet Tech had received an offer from Google to acquire the company for $12 billion. It was the deal of a lifetime, an opportunity to become one of the richest women on the planet. But accepting meant moving to Mountain View for at least 4 years, starting over from scratch, returning to the devastating work rhythms of before. That night, while Ethan slept, Sophia talked to Marcus about the proposal. He listened silently, then simply said that the decision was hers. Whatever she chose, Ethan and he would support her. But in Marcus's eyes, Sophia saw the fear of losing everything she had learned to love again, and she understood that true wealth is not measured in billions of dollars, but in the ability to choose love above all else. Google's proposal remained on the table for 4 weeks, during which Sophia faced the most important decision of her life. $12 billion, a figure that would have made Bennet Tech the largest technology acquisition in West Coast history, and her one of the most powerful women in the corporate world. But every time she watched Ethan laughing with Marcus in the mansion's garden, every time she woke up in the morning with Marcus by her side feeling complete for the first time in years, every time she saw in her son's eyes the serenity that only a united family can provide, she understood that the true value of her life was not measured in dollars. The Bennet Tech board of directors pressured her daily. Shareholders spoke of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The financial media speculated about her intentions. International headhunters sought her out, offering her CEO positions at other Silicon Valley multinationals. The entire business world awaited her response. Marcus never mentioned it, but Sophia saw the concern in his eyes. One night, while they were preparing dinner together with Ethan spilling flour everywhere, Marcus said something that touched her heart. He didn't want to be the reason she gave up her dreams. Sophia stopped, looked at him, and smiled, explaining that her dreams had changed. 3 years ago, her dream was to dominate the tech world. Today, her dream was to have dinner with them every night, to see Ethan grow up in a family that loved him, to build something real together. The definitive answer came during the Christmas party they organized at the mansion. It was the first real celebration they had together, with a tree decorated by Ethan, a lit fireplace, and gifts wrapped with more love than aesthetic perfection. When Ethan opened his presents, he found a storybook that Marcus had written and illustrated by hand, recounting their adventures together. The boy exploded with joy, hugging Marcus and calling him Daddy Marcus for the first time without correction. At that moment, Sophia realized that no billion-dollar contract could buy that happiness. On January 2nd, Sophia called a press conference that made headlines around the world. In front of journalists, financial analysts, and international cameras, she announced that Bennet Tech was rejecting Google's offer and would remain an independent company, but more importantly, she announced a revolution in its business management. Sophia would retain strategic control but delegate operational management, reducing her professional commitment by 60%. Half of the company's profits would go to social projects for working families, corporate daycare centers, and support for single parents. Bennet Tech became the first major American company to officially place family at the center of its business philosophy. But the biggest news came 6 months later, when she married Marcus in an intimate ceremony in the mansion's garden, with Ethan as the ring bearer, declaring to everyone that she finally had a complete family. The tabloids talked about the billionaire CEO who married the janitor, but Sophia didn't care about the comments in the least. A year later, when Maya was born, named after Marcus' maternal grandmother, Ethan declared himself the happiest big brother in the world. Marcus started his own therapeutic garden design company for children, becoming one of the most sought-after experts in California. Sophia continued to run Bennet Tech, but with a schedule that allowed her to be present for every important moment in her family's life. One summer evening, while dining in the garden that Marcus had transformed into a small paradise, Ethan asked a question that made everyone smile. "Mom, do you remember when you were always sad and always working?" Sophia looked at Marcus, who was holding Maya on his lap, then at Ethan, his face smeared with ice cream, smiling with the pure happiness of a loved child, and replied that she remembered, but that she had discovered that money can buy a beautiful house, but only love can turn it into a happy home. Marcus held her hand and whispered that sometimes love comes dressed as a janitor when we least expect it. That night, As they put the children to bed and sat on the porch watching the lights of Los Angeles twinkle in the valley, Sophia knew she had made the right decision. She had turned down $12 billion, but gained something priceless: a real family, authentic love, and the awareness that the greatest wealth is that of the heart. Bennett Tech continued to grow and prosper, but now it had a soul. And that mansion in the hills of Beverly Hills, once a symbol of cold success, had become a place where love always won, where miracles were called family, and where every day proved that decisions of the heart are worth more than any fortune. If this transformative love story moved you, leave a like and subscribe for more incredible stories of second chances. Tell us in the comments, would you have given up $12 billion for love? Do you believe that true success is measured in money or happiness? And don't miss the next video, where you'll discover another extraordinary story that will make you believe in the power of true love.